Hello, Alicia. It is very
Hi.
nice to have you here on our Tourister video interview dedicated to museums and general cultural establishments during COVID-19. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you.
And let's get started. My first question is the following. How museums and other cultural establishments can survive after COVID-19?
Well, they are the cornerstone of the well-being, and I think they are very important issues related to post-pandemic situation, which is really to provide some places, safe places to visit and to go out of the households. I think that's what the galleries especially can do. There are two things within cultural sector and heritage sector. Museums which are very closely related to the narrative exhibitions with a lot of interactives, they will have hard time to survive because not survive, but just to really have a big attendance, because the way they are set up is just to interact with the monitors, things which you can't keep it clean, you can't keep it safe. So
Sure.
those devices, I'm sure, will be switched off for the time being, and therefore the narrative will be really compromised, so that it will be not that interesting. But galleries, opposite situation is with galleries. When you interact, without touch, that's the you would say the very obsolete, very sort of old-fashioned way of interacting with heritage, when you just walk in the gallery and then you look at the picture or painting, and then that it really can provide a safe situation if the number of visitors is limited. Therefore, the kind of old-fashioned museums are really winning in this situation. And I think people very much need to go out, and they will be going out. So it's a big challenge for museum professionals. We need to provide them the place where they can go and they can be with other people, not their families. So I think that's a big opportunity for museum sector to somehow convince people who were not museum goers before, just to be somewhere else. And also really a big challenge for museums which go into interactive devices as their main tool to provide interesting content, because that will be obsolete for next 2 years perhaps. And also I think the museum sector is also very much obliged to give access to the collections the best way they can. So what we do, we digitalize our collections, and now this is even more important to do that, not only for the sake of providing catalogs online, but to start thinking about alternative tools to give access to collections, but without mimicking the situation from the gallery. So I think that should, in my opinion, cause creation of additional tools to interact virtually with collections, but not in a way that we do only virtual tours or augmented reality type of devices, but things which are really strictly designed to be online, and they are somehow filling the gap between the person who is experiencing the object and then interpreting it in her own way. So I think the virtual world is an opportunity to really, I'm not saying teach, but somehow see how people understand art. But it is a big question mark for those who design certain tools to give access to the collection. So they are, on one hand, there is a lot of investment especially in Poland, and a lot of investment in terms of interpretation through narrative exhibitions. The most famous exhibitions now are narrative, very interactive. They will have a lot of problem to be safe. And on the other hand, that is putting a question mark on the entire museum sector, how provide alternative way of interacting with the collections, but in very meaningful way, new way, completely new way. So I think that's for us and for technology people a big challenge.
Sure, good. So what do you think, how the domestic tourism can benefit from this perspective? How can particular countries use the museum as a tool to attract the domestic visitors?
Very much so. When you limit the public transport and then you use your own public transport during holiday season, then of course you limit the amount of risk which it can be caused by the COVID-19, and therefore the tourism and heritage sector can really benefit from the fact that people cannot and or will not very much go abroad. Although I personally think that after the borders are not open, I think that the need to travel is there in people, and then will be a very big movement in terms of the city breaks. Obviously, the city breaks with usage of public transport will be most popular, but I don't think that it's the only way of looking at this. I think that people will be using public transport like flights, and then they will be traveling because usually the sector providing the flights, the aviation sector is really aware of the risks. So then I don't think it will all be prepared, I'm sure, from procedural point of view and sanitation point of view. I think that would be all right. But also I think the fact that there will be no tourism, no holidaying related to resorts, and to accumulation of people in one place which travel from one country to another country. I think city breaks are the alternative for that, and that will be true for domestic tourism as well as for neighboring countries. And definitely, I see that there will be a lot of movement after the borders are open. Moving out of the own country, just not far. And then I think that's our opportunity also to use. That is the same situation like in 2008 when the economy collapsed, and then what we saw, especially in Poland, that the domestic tourism and visiting heritage places was just the top position during the holiday time. And then what I think now is going to happen, that the seaside resorts, which are in Poland very popular recently, they will be not that popular, but the entire movement will be again around places to visit and see around Poland, just within own transportation. So I think we should take that into consideration and maybe market this opportunity, and then to help people to choose this way of spending time and getting some rest and relax and change the environment and be with other people, friends and family.
Good, thank you. So my another question is about the governmental tools to support the cultural establishments to overcome COVID-19 effects. What are the steps Polish government has made so far?
Well, I think quite quickly, first the heritage sector issued procedures what to do when there was no closure yet, that the agencies set up to protect the museum sector. They were issuing the procedures, and that really worked quite well because the procedures were sent all to every museum in Poland. So I know that small museums in remote parts of Poland, they were very happy because they knew how to act, what to do, and what is safe, what is not safe. So that was really very that was big welcome and very warm reception of that help from the government. Another way, which is more, measurable, is of course money. And what happened is that the Ministry of Culture set up quickly operational program, which is not sufficient, I must say, but it's not sufficient for any parts of this, economy. But they set up a program which is called Culture in the Network, and it was mainly aimed at creating products online, and concerts, vernissages, book publishing, things like that, and that amount of money was bigger than usually is for those type of programs. And as I see that there is a big variety of people who actually want the little grants. They are not, they are not huge, but they can help survive. And in the conditions which were issued quite quickly, which I must say is it is somehow, positive. It is positive that the big emphasis was put on helping not local, but helping artists. Like, let's say, museum is planning to produce a product online. So the encouragement was to ask video artists or digital artists to join in, and then to help them, because they definitely have a problem to get their the job. So that was really a synergy problem. But of course, I would prefer that there is more money for that. But it was a little step which was really, really positive. And I myself, I am glad that there's a variety of products, from heavy-duty heritage things to let's say more entertainment type things, which means it's more or less covering the cultural activity. But the sector will be suffering. There are museums in Poland which are based on income from visitors, and that's really part of their budget, like huge part of their budget, and that is not going to be pretty after that. So we don't know exactly how government will help them. We have ongoing discussions in that way, but obviously there will be a lot of suffering. We do hope that this domestic tourism will help those institutions to go back on track, but especially the places which are commemorative. They are not, they are not tourist destinations during holidays, and they will be, gathering their strength and for a very long time, because they are not entertainment. So people are usually going for certain anniversaries or certain celebrations which were cancelled, and they will be cancelled. So I think this entire heritage sector is diverse, and there are museums which will be fine related to after the pandemic, because they have big spaces, they can contain a lot of visitors in a safe way. But there will be institutions which it will really take years until they go back on track. But all the sector has to rethink the formula in which we work. I mean, the interaction with the physical spaces and physical objects. If the touch is what is really now kind of questionable, and it will be for some time, and we know that this virus will mutate, and this is not going to be cancelled within half a year, then those exhibitors and the monitors and all the interactives will be switched off, and they were really expensive to build. So no one, of course, could predict that is going to happen this way, but well, that is a big question for entire sector, and I hope that those discussions will take place after we more or less familiarize ourselves with the virus and with the way we can protect ourselves.
Okay, good. I guess I'm moving to the final part, which is generally is related to the tourism issues. How does the Polish government help the tourism sector generally? What are the steps?
Well, I think the tourism sector in Poland is very much related to regions and with local governments. I mean, of course, globally, when Poland is displaying its highlights somewhere on abroad, then that it's centralized. But there is a lot power in local governments, and they really deal with the tourism the way they know it. They know it best. So they simply the local government tourism office are, in my personal opinion, the biggest opportunity for tourism, and they simply can connect the dots and then to create something new. What in Poland has to change drastically is the business tourism, meaning the organizing of conferences as well as big events. I see that it's all that went to online, and that is a big shame because we had a lot of infrastructure for that recently, and that is private initiative with big involvement of local government and with some attendance from the government very often as a discussion, as a platform to discuss certain issues, but either from economy or from I don't know, the public health or tourism. I think that's the quality of, I'm not saying it's lower, but definitely it's changing now. And the local tourists, that would depend from the region to region in Poland. Some of them are really very active and some of them are not so active. But in terms of supporting the local tourism, I see that when I know more or less I know very well the juncture between tourism and heritage. I've been once sitting on the committee, giving grants to NGOs which were providing some sort of heritage product, and they were really very interesting, very creative, and I think that is also some sort of opportunity to provide good product for those situations we talked before. I mean, the holiday time and spending time with close ones and friends and family. And I think the centralized way of supporting tourism would not work in Poland because it's very diverse. I don't know how it is in Georgia exactly, but I think in Poland, I think the best solution is to do it regionally, and even metropolis or voivodeship or things like that. They create their own marketing tools, as well as they are somehow promoting themselves, which helps the tourism more on this private sector to choose from that offer. So I think that promotion is really the key thing, and that is somehow financed by from public money. So I think overall it is related to the way the country is set up. In Polish situation, the regions and the regional governments are supposed to, or they're doing the job to support the tourism, and I think that's works much better than to do it on the government scale.
Great. Thank you very much. I guess it was the last point I wanted to mention, and the answer was really satisfactory from our point of view. Thank you very much again for being with us.